At a class reunion, 2 years after we broke up, my ex's best friend suddenly asked me, Cheyenne, do you still like Yuyan? I smiled and shook my head. Then, I flashed the ring on my finger and my phone's lock screen showing my family photo, and told her I was already married. Her bestie let out a sigh. Even her ultimate crush begged me to just go see her one more time, just because after I left, that untouchable ice queen of a woman went completely out of her mind. Everyone said Jiang Yuyan was a cold, untouchable goddess. I confessed to her 56 times to win her over, and proposed 32 times, before she finally agreed to marry me. Later, I did get married, but she wasn't the bride, because right before our wedding, she secretly planned to do IVF with her mentor's son, to have a baby. It was to fulfill her mentor's dying wish of holding a grandchild. So, I secretly swapped out the bride. I changed Yang Yuyan's contact name to the XU I'm dumping, and changed the name of my blind date to wife. The next day, Jiang Yuyan came back looking completely exhausted. That's when I found out she didn't even have time to do the IVF before her mentor passed away last night. At the memorial service, she was busy taking care of Song Baishan, and after I finished bowing to the memorial tablet, Song Baishan's mother helped me up. She looked at me and said, "You must be Yuyan's boyfriend. Thanks for coming to see old Song. I heard you two were supposed to get married soon. She's such a loyal and affectionate kid." She offered to mourn her mentor for half a year, which really puts you in a tough spot. I just listened quietly without saying a word, and didn't mention the absurd things Yang Yuyan and her son were planning to do. But Song's mother seemed to sense my pain, and couldn't help but sigh deeply. Yuyan, we practically watched that kid grow up. Old Song was her mentor, all the way from undergrad to her PhD. She values relationships so much. That's why she made this decision. Please, don't blame her. Since I'd already swapped the bride, naturally I didn't blame her. I understand, I said, seeing how understanding I was being. Song's mother spoke again, and blurted out something she'd been holding back. And don't mind Baishan either. Even though Baishan is super clingy with her all day, I can tell she doesn't see him that way. She really likes you. Hearing that, my body stiffened slightly. Likes me? I sure couldn't tell, seeing my look of disbelief. Song's mother started rambling. Kid, I'm not lying to you. Old Song and I used to think she was so buried in her medical research all day that she'd never like anyone until you showed up. Even though she didn't show it much, she would always casually bring you up in front of us. Like how she ran into you again yesterday. What delicious food you made for her. Or what goofy thing you did today just to chase her. Even though she made it sound like she was annoyed, we all knew. She just didn't realize she was in love. Song's mother kept going on about how much Jiang Yuyan cared, which she never showed me. But hearing all this, I only felt a sense of irony. Maybe the old me would have been thrilled to hear this, but right now, I just found it incredibly ironic. If Jiang Yuyan really loved me, why couldn't I feel it at all? Why was I always the one chasing after her, while she never stopped to wait for me? If she loved me, how could she plan to have a baby with another guy? The moment she agreed to have a baby with Song Baishan, everything was beyond saving. We were already totally over. For the entire memorial, Jiang Yuyan stayed right by Song Baishan's side. It wasn't until it ended, and it started pouring outside, with guests gradually leaving, that she finally pulled up in her car in front of me, and threw two emotionless words at me. Get in. Just as I was about to step forward, the window slowly rolled down, and I saw Song Baishan was already in the passenger seat. Even his mom was sitting in the back. Before I could even say anything, Song Baishan's voice rang out. Yuyan, I want to go to the cemetery to see my dad. Just the three of us. You, me, and my mom. Okay. As soon as he said that, Song's mom frowned first. Baichen, don't be like this. But those few words, for some reason, hit a nerve with Song Baichen. He just started screaming. Today is my dad's funeral. Can't he just grab a cab himself? His mom tried to calm him down, but Jiang Yuyan had already made up her mind. She turned to look at me, her voice leaving no room for argument. I'll come pick you up later. With that, she just hit the gas and sped off, left standing there all alone. I had already seen this ending coming, the moment Song Baichen opened his mouth. Right now, I didn't look sad about being ditched at all. I waited quietly in the same spot for a few hours. But she never showed up. Watching the rain get heavier, I knew she wasn't coming. The funeral home was in the middle of nowhere, and I couldn't get a cab nearby. I didn't have an umbrella, so I had to just walk out into the pouring rain. The rain was coming down so hard, it blurred my vision. I walked in the rain for 2 hours, before I finally reached a spot where I could hail a cab and head home. That night, I spiked a high fever. Jiang Yuyan still hadn't come back. I was delirious from the fever. My whole body felt weak. I didn't even have the energy to dial 120. So I just dragged myself up, found some fever meds, and washed them down with water. The meds didn't kick in right away. I crawled back into bed, burning up and feeling absolutely miserable. I don't know how long it took, but I eventually passed out. A whole day and night went by before my fever finally broke. And that's when I finally heard the door open. Jiang Yuyan walked in through the door. She didn't look at me and didn't say a single word about not picking me up. She just packed her bags in complete silence. It wasn't until she finished packing that she finally spared me a glance, like it was charity. Baichen isn't doing well right now. I'm going to stay with him for a few days. You'll be home alone, so call me if anything comes up. Watching her rush out the door, the second she finished speaking, I let out a self-deprecating laugh. Would calling even do any good? I was standing right in front of her looking pale as a ghost, and she couldn't even tell I was sick. How could I possibly expect her to drop Song Baichen to come check on me? Over the next few days, Jiang Yuyan really didn't come back, and she never called me either. But I knew exactly what she was up to. After all, she was with Song Baichen, who absolutely loves oversharing his life. Every single day, I could see on Song Baichen's WeChat moments exactly what they were doing, like her making him porridge and peeling his shrimp, or them going out for a walk to watch the fireworks. I didn't pay too much attention to what they were doing. Once I recovered, I went straight to the company and handed in my resignation. My coworkers were shocked when they heard, "Cheyenne, why are you quitting so suddenly? Did something happen?" I just shook my head and explained, "I've been away from home for so many years. It's time for me to go back." But that explanation only confused my coworkers even more. Eventually, someone couldn't hold back and asked, "What about Dr. Jiang? Her family is here in this city. If you go back to your city, wouldn't you guys be doing long distance?" I froze for a second. See, all my friends knew how much I loved Jiang Yuyan. Loved her so much that I gave up everything to settle down in this unfamiliar city. Loved her so much that everyone subconsciously thought I was the only one expected to put effort into this relationship, and she just took it for granted, treating all my sacrifices as if they were owed to her. And then, she gave all her patience and gentleness to someone else. I smiled, shook my head and said, "It's not long distance. We're just never going to see each other again." After finishing the handover at work and packing up all my belongings, I carried my box and headed home. The moment I walked in, I saw Jiang Yuyan and Song Baichen sitting in the living room. Seeing me come back holding a box, she was stunned. She instinctively asked, Cheyenne, what's all this? My tone was calm. As I effortlessly lied, the company is moving to a new office. So I brought my stuff back first. Jiang Yuyan frowned. Moving where? I was about to answer when Song Baishan cut me off. Xian, since my dad passed away recently, I've been in a really dark place. And I've messed up in a lot of ways. I even suggested having a baby with Yuyan. Looking back now, that idea was pretty ridiculous. But nothing ever happened between me and Yuyan. Now that my dad is gone, I don't need to have a kid anymore. I'm so sorry, please don't take it to heart. He put on this super pitiful act. If I hadn't already received that highly provocative screenshot of their chat history, maybe I would have actually believed him. But now, I wasn't in the mood to expose Song Baichan's little games. I just gave a faint nod and took my box back to my room. Right after setting my stuff down, I heard my phone's ringtone start going off, but the sound was coming from the living room. That's when I realized I left my phone out there. Just as I was about to grab it, the door was suddenly pushed open. Then came Jiang Yuyan, looking totally gloomy, holding my phone in one hand. She stared daggers at me. Who is wife in your phone? This was the very first time I'd seen Jiang Yuyan make a face like that. Over all these years, in front of me, she was always so calm and collected. I honestly thought she was incapable of getting jealous. I still remember when I was chasing her back then. Someone told me that wooing a girl requires strategy. Clinging to Jiang Yuyan every single day like I did would just make her get too used to my presence without even realizing it. And over time, she'd just get sick of me. So I learned to play hard to get it, intentionally going a few days without seeing her. I even hung out with other girls right in front of her, wanting to see if she'd get jealous. But back then, when she saw me standing with other girls, her expression remained totally unfazed. She just walked right past me like usual, without even sparing me a glance out of the corner of her eye. That's when I realized playing hard to get might work on other people, but it was completely useless on Jiang Yuyan. After that, we went right back to our original dynamic. She walked ahead, and I chased after her. Just like that, 6 years flew by in a blink. Now, I finally got to see what she looked like when she was jealous. But it was way too late. Just as I took my phone back and was about to explain, Song Baishan's voice rang out from behind her again. It's definitely a bro. Us guys often save our bros' contacts as wife. Since Song Baishan already handed her an excuse, I couldn't be bothered to correct him. I didn't say anything else. Just took my phone, went back to my room, and redialed the number. Sue ran calling me out of the blue right now. I thought it was about something important, but as soon as she spoke, she was just asking about a bunch of random trivial stuff. Have you eaten? It's been raining non-stop in Nanjing lately. How's the weather in Haisheng? Is it raining? I heard temperatures are dropping in Haisheng. Make sure to stay warm. Don't get sick. At first, I answered her questions one by one, waiting for her to get to the point. But she just kept rambling without ever saying why she called, until I couldn't take it anymore and pretended I was about to hang up. What exactly is going on? If you don't tell me, I'm hanging up. Hearing me say that, she finally didn't dare to keep dragging out all that nonsense. I just wanted to ask if you regretted it. Are you really going to change the bride? I instantly felt a bit exasperated. You beat around the bush this long just to ask that. Su Ran, however, gave a very solemn amziao, her voice carrying a hint of barely detectable grievance. Didn't you really like that girlfriend of yours? I originally wanted to ask her how she knew, but on second thought, from the first time I saw Jiang Yuyan when I entered college, to my relentless daily pursuit, the joy when I finally confessed successfully, and then deciding to get married and changing the bride. Over the years, my WeChat moments had barely ever strayed from Jiang Yuyan. I made my love for her public, wishing everyone in the world knew how much I loved Jiang Yuyan. Under these circumstances, it would be hard for them not to know. I gave a self-deprecating shake of my head. I don't like her anymore. Pausing, I gave her another dose of reassurance. Don't worry, I said, I'm changing the bride and marrying you. I won't regret it because of her anymore. The call finally ended when I finished packing and went out. Song Baixin hadn't left yet. He was in the living room with Jiang Yuyan, chatting about who knows what. Seeing me come out, his expression turned a bit ugly. He hesitated for a long time, but still brought up that contact name. You finished talking to your bro. In the future, you shouldn't use that kind of name for a brother. I gave him a surprised look, not expecting him to still be dwelling on that rat. I nodded as an answer. Nobody knew if I was answering the first question, the second sentence, or maybe both. Jiang Yuyan just assumed I agreed, and her expression finally improved a bit. Her entire series of emotional shifts was taken in completely by Song Baixin. In an instant, his expression became quite a spectacle. Song Baixin hadn't expected Jiang Yuyan to still be possessive over me. After all, in his mind, she wasn't supposed to care about me, right? He reeled in his emotions and spoke up. It's still early. Xian Yuyan, let me treat you guys to dinner and a movie. Think of it as a thank you for putting up with me lately. Looking at his fake smile, I pretty much guessed exactly why Song Baixin was making this suggestion. It was nothing more than wanting to show off in front of me how good Jiang Yuyan is to him, how gentle she is. Thinking of this, I shook my head. First, I didn't want to play this childish game of tug-of-war with them anymore. Second, it was almost time for me to go home, and I still had a ton of things to handle. But how could Song Baixin pass up this opportunity? Seeing me shake my head, he turned to Jiang Yuyan. Yuyan, is Xian still mad at me? I know, I did some crazy things a while ago. It's only right that Xian is mad at me. It's all my fault. As he spoke, his eyes actually welled up with tears, making Jiang Yuyan's heart ache. The next second, a disapproving look was shot my way. I sighed, looking at the situation. If I stubbornly refused to go, I'd become the unforgiving villain again. After all the arguing, I was still dragged out the door with them. It happened to be mealtime, so the three of us went to a restaurant to eat first. The restaurant was a seafood place, Song Baixin picked. When we sat down in the private room, I took a long hard look at Jiang Yuyan. She unnaturally avoided my gaze. When she looked at Song Baixin ordering food, her eyes unconsciously filled with affection. Of course, Jiang Yuyan felt guilty. After all, she clearly knew I was allergic to seafood. But still, because of Song Baixin's one comment, that the seafood at this restaurant was really good, brought me along to this place anyway. After the food was served, unlike me, who only had a glass of water in front of him, Song Baixin was eating seafood that Jiang Yuyan had personally prepped for him. He looked up at me. Seeing me just drinking the water, he looked a bit puzzled. Xian, this seafood is really good. Are you really not going to try it? A mocking smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. Just as I was about to speak, Jiang Yuyan changed the subject again, tossing the previous topic out the window. After dinner, Song Baixin dragged us to the movie theater. After picking and choosing, he finally settled on a horror movie. It wasn't until we got into the theater that I understood his intention. I sat on the outermost edge seat, listening to the constant gasps coming from Song Baixin next to me. 1 second it was because he was nervous and grabbed Jiang Yuyan's cola by mistake. The next, he was scared by a ghost popping up and tightly grabbed Jiang Yuyan's hand. Song Baishan's actions made Jiang Yuyan freeze. She instinctively frowned, but after a moment's hesitation, thinking of her mentor, she finally let him hold on. She glanced sideways and immediately saw me staring straight in their direction. I clearly saw what just happened, yet my eyes remained totally calm. She called me Xian with rare intimacy. Just as she was about to explain, I had already turned my head back to face forward. Her explanation got stuck in her throat, unable to go up or down. Jiang Yuyan just felt incredibly uncomfortable inside, but a small gasp from the person next to her made her quickly suppress that weird feeling, and softly coax Song Baishan. As for me, beside her, after hearing her coaxing voice, I let out a soft laugh, thinking about going home and never returning to this city again. I planned to say goodbye to a few good friends first, so I sent a message in our group chat. Let's meet up. I have something to tell you guys. The first to reply was Chin Hao, who I kept in touch with the most. He quickly responded, "There happens to be a class reunion in a few days. Let's just do it then." This suggestion got unanimous approval. I headed out early on the day of the class reunion. When I arrived at the private room we booked, the others were already there. Seeing me, they asked curiously, "Xian, a few days ago you said you had something to tell us. What's up?" I calmly told them, "I'm going back to my hometown to get married in a couple of days. I don't know if we'll see each other again after this. You're all welcome to come to my wedding." As soon as I said that, a few of them remembered the post I made on WeChat moments a while back. Someone gasped, "Xian, you were serious about that last time. Are you really breaking up with Jiang Yuyan and going home to marry someone else? Does Jiang Yuyan know about this?" Right as they said that, the door to the private room opened again, and Jiang Yuyan's voice floated in. "Know about what?" Seeing Jiang Yuyan suddenly show up, everyone exchanged awkward glances. Finally, Chin Hao laughed it off and changed the subject. "Who let our resident genius, Jiang in? Did you draw a card yet?" Seeing her frown in confusion, he smiled and explained, "Lu Huan has been getting into tarot lately. Everyone has to draw a card to be her guinea pig." Liu Huan, hearing her name, walked over to us with a deck of cards, looking excited. "Hurry, hurry, one card each." I casually drew a card. Seeing me draw one, Jiang Yuyan agreed to play along too. Chin Hao, who brought it up, started hyping it up. "Quick, let our psychic Lu take a look. Let's see what you guys drew." I was actually a bit curious myself. The card flipped over, and the words on it came into clear view. "Expectations lead to disappointment. Asking for nothing brings ultimate fulfillment." Reading this, my expression grew serious. It honestly wasn't wrong. I handed the card back to Liu Wan. After seeing the words on the card, Liu Wan patted my shoulder comfortingly. "Even though the first half doesn't look great, doesn't the second half mean you'll get a pleasant surprise? Relax, don't read too much into it." I nodded and watched Jiang Yuyan draw a card from the deck. The card flipped over, but the words on it made her freeze. The others who saw it went quiet too. This totally piqued everyone else's curiosity. Someone snatched the card from her hand, glanced at it and shoved it back to Liu Wan. "Psychic Liu, looks like your skills need some work. Everyone knows Xian and Jiang Yuyan are rock solid. How could Jiang Yuyan lose her true love forever?" That comment made my close bros look pretty awkward. Why couldn't she lose her true love forever? I was already planning to leave this city, leave Jiang Yuyan, and marry someone else. But since most people there didn't know the inside scoop, they kept joking about how inaccurate Lu Hongwan's cards were. Amidst the joking around, no one paid special attention to us. Just then, A phone rang, sounding faint in the noisy room, but Jiang Yuyan heard it immediately and picked up. I don't know what the person on the other end said, but her expression instantly changed, and she shot a look at me. Cheyenne, come to the hospital with me. I didn't get why she needed me to go to the hospital, but seeing how serious she looked, I didn't ask any questions. I followed Jiang Yuyan and hurried out of the private room. The car sped all the way toward the hospital. When we got to the hospital, she didn't say a single word, just dragged me straight to the rooftop. As soon as we got up there, we saw a guy holding a knife, leaning against the railing. He was holding a panicked Song Baichen hostage. When Song Baichen saw Jiang Yuyan appear, his eyes lit up with hope. Yuyan, save me. Before I could even process what was happening, I was shoved forward hard. The very next second, a familiar voice rang out behind me. Look closely. This is my actual boyfriend. Let the guy you're holding go. He's innocent. He means absolutely nothing to me. Killing him won't do you any good. Only holding my boyfriend hostage will get you what you want. Hearing Jiang Yuyan's words, it finally hit. She rushed me over here, just to trade me for Song Baishen's safety. Piecing it together with the whispers from the bystanders, I pretty much figured out the whole backstory of this crazy drama. It was just some medical dispute. The guy had probably been stalking us for days, and seeing Jiang Yuyan hanging out with Song Baishen every day, mistook Song Baishen for her boyfriend and took him hostage. I felt like a bucket of ice water had been poured over me, chilling me to the bone. Behind me, Jiang Yuyan was still relentlessly shoving me forward. How ridiculous! My girlfriend spends every single day with another man, and when dangers strike, she doesn't hesitate to throw me to the wolves, to act as a human shield for her mentor's son. The man looked at Song Baishen in his grip, and then at me, who had just been shoved forward. Maybe because he had seen me while stalking her. He loosened his grip slightly, even though he still seemed skeptical. He looked around warily, getting ready for me to step up and swap places. But the moment he loosened his grip, a squad of cops suddenly rushed him from all sides. Someone kicked the knife out of his hand with lightning speed. Someone else pulled Song Baishen away. As for Jiang Yuyan, the very second Song Baichen was safe. She rushed right up to him. Baichen, are you okay? Song Baichen hugged her, still terrified. Yuyan, I was scared to death. It wasn't until she confirmed he was okay that Jiang Yuyan remembered she had just shoved me out there. She looked back at me, a little late to the party, and asked, "Are you okay?" But as I looked into her eyes, all that was left in mine was dead silence. Jiang Yuyan isn't the type to explain herself. Most of the time, she doesn't care about anything. But right now, seeing me look like this, her heart fluttered slightly, realizing she was actually feeling a surge of uncontrollable emotion. Xian, there were already people stationed nearby. As long as you went over to distract the attacker, the cops would have made their move. It was just a tactic. She sounded so logical and justified, and I didn't even argue with her. Yehi, just a tactic. I'm fine anyway, right? But what if? As my girlfriend, how could she be so okay with using my life to trade for someone else's? In that moment, I looked at her like she was a complete stranger. Ji Xian, look at you. Is this the woman you risked everything for, gave up everything for, and moved to this unfamiliar city for? Do I regret it? Yeah, I think I do. Good thing it's not too late to fix things. After that day, Jiang Yuyan said Song Baishen was traumatized because he got taken hostage on her account. She couldn't just leave him, so she stayed by his side the whole time, never leaving. completely forgetting that on that very day, I was the one she shoved toward the attacker. Luckily, I had already decided to give up on this hopeless relationship. I wasn't going to shed another tear over her. Bit by bit, I started clearing out everything in the apartment related to Jiang Yuyan. I even went and picked up the wedding photos we took before, took them out of their frames, and tossed them into the fire one by one. I didn't look away until I saw the flames swallow those photos completely. Only then did I turn my attention to the rest of the stuff in the room. In the past, trying to get closer to Jiang Yuyan, I bought countless matching couples items for her. From the toothbrushes and cups sitting side by side on the sink, and the differently colored towels embroidered with the same cute patterns, to the matching outfits hanging in the closet, and the couple's rings in the jewelry box. I packed all of these things up, threw them into a cardboard box, and tossed the whole thing out. I won't be needing this stuff ever again. After throwing away what needed to be thrown away, I started packing my luggage. I once wholeheartedly treated this place as my second home, dying to leave my mark. In every corner of this apartment, I wanted Jiang Yuyan to see those things, and subconsciously think of me. I thought over time, she'd eventually truly accept me, fall in love with me and never leave me, but up until now, my goal was never reached. There was a lot of stuff, so my packing slowed down. When Jiang Yuyan got home that night, I still wasn't done. When she pushed the door open and walked into the room, the first thing she saw was clothes covering the entire bed. She startled me by walking in so suddenly, just as I was trying to figure out how to explain the pile of clothes. I heard her ask first, "What are you doing? Are you going on a business trip?" I paused, turned my back to her, and kept organizing my things where she couldn't see. A mocking smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. I already quit my job. What business trip? It seemed like it never even crossed her mind that I might actually leave her. But whatever, this works too. I didn't want to talk to her much anyway, so I just gave a simple, yeah. Seeing me nod, Jiang Yuyan didn't think much of it, and casually asked, "When are you leaving?" I thought about it, and didn't bother hiding this part. Tomorrow morning. Jiang Yuyan didn't say anything else. She turned and left the bedroom, and actually took the initiative to cook dinner. She's a great cook, but rarely cooks because she's so busy with work. Because of that, getting to eat her home-cooked meals was super rare for me. Lately, she's been cooking a lot, but every single one of those meals ended up going straight to Song Baishan. After we finished eating, Jiang Yuyan pulled a gift box out from behind her back and handed it to me. Looking at the box pushed in front of me, I gave her a somewhat surprised look. She rarely took the initiative like this. I didn't take the gift box from her. Instead, I just asked outright, "Do you need something?" Jiang Yuyan hesitated for a moment, remembering my expression when I left. She finally apologized. "I'm sorry about last time. I just gave a flat inhame." My reaction was so bland that even Jiang Yuyan looked a bit surprised. But remembering she had to talk about him, she didn't dwell on it too much, and just continued. "Bishan has been in a really bad mood lately. I took some time off, and planned to spend the next few days with him." As she spoke, she kept checking my reaction, but my face remained completely indifferent. There was no trace of the rage I used to show whenever she went to see Song Baishan. Sitting right across from her, I felt totally at peace, and just said flatly, "Suit yourself." Seeing that I just dropped those words, and didn't say anything else, Yang Yuyan actually got up and hugged me. "Cheyenne, Baishan is my mentor's son. Ever since my teacher passed away, he's been in a really bad place. This time he got a huge scare again. Just let me help him get through this period, okay? I'll make it up to you later, I promise." I didn't say yes, and I didn't say no. Since when do we have a later? The next morning, seeing that I had brought my luggage to the door early. Jiang Yuyan actually went out and bought breakfast. She offered, "I'll drop you off later." I didn't say anything. I just sat at the table, eating my breakfast in silence. Just as I finished eating and was about to head out, she suddenly glanced down at her phone, and then dropped the exact line I was expecting. "Xian, something came up. I can't drop you off anymore." I didn't even have to guess. I knew it was definitely Song Baishan calling her, so I just nodded. "Go do your thing." Seeing that I was cool with it, Xiang Yuyan didn't hesitate anymore. She turned around and walked out the door. Right before she stepped out, she looked back at me. "Let me know when you're coming back. I'll come pick you up." After that, she didn't look back again. I watched her back as she faded from my view, and whispered softly, "Jiang Yuyan, I'm not coming back." I took one last look around the apartment I had lived in for 6 whole years. Finally, I left a note on the table. "Jiang Yuyan, let's break up. I'm going back to my hometown to get married." After getting that done, I grabbed the suitcase I had already left by the door and caught a cab straight to the airport. From now on, I won't be a part of Jiang Yuyan's life. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Jiang Yuyan was speeding down the street, feeling inexplicably uneasy. A few hours of traveling later, my flight finally touched down in Nanjing. I walked out pushing my suitcase, and looked up to see Su Ran waiting in the arrival hall. She was wearing a white dress, and every single move she made just oozed elegance and sophistication. I couldn't hide the amazement in my eyes. The immature hood friend, who used to follow me around and bicker with me, had actually turned into this. The gorgeous girl stopped right in front of me and teased me with a smirk. "What? Staring? Once we get our marriage license, you can stare as long as you want." Realizing I was zoning out, my ears instantly burned red. I forced myself to play it cool and rolled my eyes at her. "Firing right back," I said. "Long time no see, and you're still full of yourself." She casually looped her arm through mine and pulled me toward the exit. "If you've got it, flaunt it, right?" I was speechless for a second. I looked at her stunning face and couldn't even find a comeback. She really is drop-dead gorgeous. Growing up, she was always the it girl at school. Top grades, pretty face. She was exactly the type of cool beauty all the guys in school crushed on back then. She gave off major player vibes, but was actually totally innocent. Whenever guys tried to confess to her, she'd shut them down with a straight face. "We're students. Our main priority right now should be studying. How can you be thinking about all this nonsense?" After high school, we went our separate ways. Even though I hadn't really kept tabs on her over the years, I vaguely heard she never actually dated anyone. Thinking about this, I suddenly turned to her and asked, "Back then, everyone thought I was just joking. Why did you agree to such a ridiculous request?" I dropped the question right as we both got into the car. She turned to me, raising an eyebrow. "I thought you already knew." I was totally clueless and frowned at her. "Knew what?" Seeing that I was still completely oblivious, Su Ran looked away, dodging the question entirely. The car slowly rolled out of the parking lot. Just when I thought she wasn't going to say anything else, she suddenly spoke up. "It wasn't the first time you'd done something that ridiculous." Of course, I believed it. She paused and looked back at me, amusement in her eyes. Plus, if it was true, I'd be hitting the jackpot. Her first comment caught me off guard. Not the first time. My mind raced. The second our eyes met, it finally clicked. Su Ran was talking about back when I stayed in Haisheng just for Jiang Yuyan. I finally put the pieces together and blurted out awkwardly, "Wait, do you have a crush on me?" She laughed out loud. I've liked you for a really, really long time. Longer than you've been in love with that Jiang Yuyan. I thought if I just got your attention, you'd figure out how I felt. Who knew you were completely dense? Not only did you run off so far away, you stayed there for a girl who didn't even appreciate you. But luckily, I had enough patience to wait for you to come back to me. Su Ran kept that last thought to herself, but her earlier words were enough to leave me frozen in shock. It wasn't until the car parked in my apartment complex that I finally snapped back to reality. I stumbled over my words. Since when? This time, she played coy and dodged the question again. Take a guess. That familiar vibe hit me right in the face again. I got out of the car, completely speechless. Su Ran hopped out right after me, falling into step beside me. Our families live super close to each other, so we were heading the exact same way. We stood in the elevator in silence. With a ding, the elevator doors opened. Su Ran walked me right to my front door. She got on her tiptoes, ruffled my hair, and smartly backed off toward her own place before I could get annoyed. Before leaving, she made sure to remind me, I'm bringing my parents over in a couple of days to talk about our wedding. You better be ready, Xian. I shot her a look, pulled out my keys to unlock the door, and ignored her. Su Ran didn't mind at all. In a great mood, she hummed to herself as she walked down the hall. It was just one floor down. In her current mood, she'd probably happily climb 20 flights of stairs. I dragged my suitcase inside. I hadn't been home in 6 whole years. Right now, I actually felt a wave of nostalgic emotions. The living room was empty, just the sound of my suitcase wheels rolling on the floor. Hearing the noise outside, my white-haired grandpa thought a burglar broke in. He charged out with his cane, his voice booming. Which little punk dares to break into my G family's house? Before he could even finish his sentence, he saw me standing in the living room with tears in my eyes. Xian! His cane dropped to the floor with a clatter. Grandpa didn't even care. His eyes instantly turned red, but he turned right around to head back to his room. I dropped my suitcase and hurried after him. Right before Grandpa could lie back down on his bed, I threw my arms around him. Grandpa, I missed you so much. Grandpa wasn't having it. This brat said he was just leaving for college and would visit during breaks. But he ended up waiting 6 years. He actually knew I was coming back recently, just didn't know the exact date. So he was only mildly surprised when he first saw me. But the news of my return was broken to him by Su Ran. This brat didn't even call me once. Probably completely forgot about this old man. What do you mean you missed me? Thinking this, Grandpa scoffed, still not turning around. Missed me? You didn't come home for 6 whole years. Left an old man like me here to rot. Ignored me. If it wasn't for that Sue girl checking in on me every day, you probably wouldn't even know if I dropped dead. His voice was full of resentment. I quickly covered his mouth, coughed a few times, and looked at him disapprovingly. Grandpa, you're going to live to 100. Stop talking like that. But remembering what he just said, I felt a huge wave of guilt. I'm sorry, Grandpa. It's all my fault. I won't leave anymore. I'll stay here and keep you company forever. Okay. When I said this, Grandpa quickly shook his head. Fifth, what nonsense are you spouting? I'm still waiting for you to get married and have kids. Only when I see you happily settled down. Then, when I'm gone, and meet your grandma and your parents, I can finally rest in peace. Hearing Grandpa constantly talk about things like this made me feel even worse. Grandpa, I told you to stop saying such depressing things. I know he'll leave me one day, but I want that day to come as late as possible. As late as possible. After clearing the air, the vibe wasn't so heavy anymore. Grandpa looked at me and sighed emotionally. You've grown up, lost weight, And changed, too. My emotions had finally settled down as well. No matter how much I change, I'll always be your grandson. Grandpa laughed warmly. But, thinking about my wedding, he looked worried again. Didn't you say you were getting married soon? Why did you suddenly come back? I shook my head, not wanting to dwell on it. We weren't a good match. So the wedding is off. Seeing Grandpa about to stress out again, I remembered what Suran said before she left. After hesitating for a second, I told him the truth. Suran said, she's bringing her parents over in a couple days to discuss our wedding. When I dropped that last line, Grandpa's eyes went wide. His gears turned for a solid minute before he finally realized what I had just said, and then burst out laughing. That girl waited for years, and it actually paid off for her. Meanwhile, back in Haisheng, by the time Jiang Yuyan got home, it was already the evening 3 days later. She pushed the door open. The apartment was pitch black. She called out my name on instinct. But as time ticked by, the apartment remained dead silent. After turning on the lights, the empty room looked exactly the same as when she left. She finally remembered I was on a business trip. Jiang Yuyan walked toward the living room, while pulling out her phone and opening our chat. At a glance, she saw how, in the past, I used to relentlessly spam her with messages. Her replies were sparse. Basically just words like aim, got it, okay. Sometimes she'd just leave me on read entirely. But it was like I never got tired. I just kept texting her every single day anyway. But looking closer at the timestamps, the last message I sent her was actually over half a month ago. Has it really been that long since he reached out? A twinge of unease crept into her heart. For the first time ever, she actually took the initiative to text me. Are you done with work yet? When are you coming back? The message was sent, but there was no reply. Feeling anxious, she checked the time. It was already 11 p.m. Jiang Yuyan finally breathed a sigh of relief, figuring it was probably just too late, and I simply hadn't seen it yet. Thinking that, she put her phone down, but out of the corner of her eye she spotted a note on the table. Feeling a bit confused, she picked it up. There weren't many words on it, but every single one hit her heart like a sledgehammer. Jiang Yuyan, let's break up. I'm going back home to get married. Like she'd forgotten how to read, she flipped the note over and over, staring at it a million times, desperately hoping to find another line on it saying, "Did I scare you? I'm just messing with you." If it did, she'd definitely scold me. Breaking up and getting married? How can you joke about things like that? But no matter how many times she read the words on the paper, there wasn't a single word missing, nor a single word added. It seemed like I was actually serious. Jiang Yuyan's eyes instantly welled up with tears. With trembling hands, she picked her phone back up. She took a photo of the note and sent it to me. Just as she was about to demand what this meant, she noticed right next to the photo she just sent was a giant red exclamation mark. Jiang Yuyan's mind went completely blank. It took her a moment to realize I had actually deleted her. Her head was spinning, but her hands were already moving, pulling up my number and dialing it. Not long after it started ringing, an automated voice came on the line, saying the person was busy. Jiang Yuyan froze again. I had hung up on her directly. An inexplicable anger flared up inside her. But when she tried dialing again, it wouldn't even connect. She had been completely blocked. Jiang Yuyan just didn't get it. She just paid a little more attention to Song Baishan. Did I really need to be this petty? She had already explained it to me clearly. Song Baishan is her mentor's son. With her teacher passing away, his mental state hasn't been great lately. What exactly was I so mad about? Besides, her going to keep Song Baishan company this time. Didn't I already agree to it? So what kind of tantrum was I throwing now? Up until this very moment, Jiang Yuyan still firmly believed that I was just acting out to make a point. After all, I loved her so much, and was willing to settle down in this unfamiliar city just for her. How could I possibly just give up, leave this place, and go marry someone else out of the blue? But what Jiang Yuyan never understood was that I didn't leave out of the blue. It's just that it took her until this very moment to finally notice it. Unable to reach me, she asked around in our class group chat, but maybe because it was getting really late, no one replied to her. She walked dejectedly back into the bedroom. It wasn't until she was about to wash up that she realized all the matching things that used to be in pairs were now down to just one. She opened the closet. The matching couple outfits I had excitedly bought for use. The ones she never wore even once, and just left to collect dust at the bottom, were now completely gone too. She lay in bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. Her mind felt like a tangled mess. Total chaos. She stayed up all night, constantly checking her phone to see if anyone had replied to her. At 12 p.m. the next day, someone finally messaged her back. She checked the name. It was Chin Hao. Feeling a surge of excitement, she tapped on the message. It was a photo. But the second she saw clearly what the photo was, it struck her like a bolt of lightning. It was a wedding photo. In the photo, the man wearing a suit, looking lovingly at his bride, was me. And the bride beside me was leaning into my chest, holding my arm and locking eyes with me. Her eyes were overflowing with tenderness and love. But that woman wasn't her. She stared blankly at that photo, her mind going completely empty. Just then, another message popped up. Looking for Xian. He went back to his hometown to get married a while ago. I heard the wedding is next week. What do you think? Don't Xian and the bride look like a perfect match? The wedding is next week. One message after another caught Yang Yuyan completely off guard. No. She refused to believe I would just marry someone else like this, especially since I had only just gone back. Even if I was getting married, there's no way the date could be set this soon, right? I had to be faking it. I just wanted to make her jealous, waiting for her to come coax me back, thinking this. It was like she found some sort of encouragement. She quickly gathered her confidence again. Her fingers swiped across the screen a few times, and after a moment of hesitation, she sent Chin Hao another text. Then do you know where Xian is right now? Jiang Yuyan originally wanted to come find me directly. It had been 4 days since I left. She figured I must be incredibly anxious waiting for her. But right as she was about to book a flight, it hit her. She couldn't remember at all where my hometown even was. On the other end, seeing this message, Chin Hao laughed out loud, out of sheer anger. He finally understood why, after loving Jiang Yuyan for so many years, and being so close to a happy ending, I suddenly gave up and chose to leave. Dating for 6 years, Xian gave up everything to stay in Haisheng for her, yet she didn't even know where he was from. He also heard that a while back, she actually shoved him toward an armed attacker, just to save another guy. Even if she claimed there was backup nearby, so what? It doesn't change the fact that then, in her heart, Xian was never her first priority. He mentally spat in disgust, and his reply turned blunt and rude. Why are you asking? What, you gonna crash the wedding? Give it a rest, will you? You didn't know how to cherish him when he was around, and now, do us all a favor, and stay far away from Xian. Jiang Yuyan frowned deeply. Seeing she wasn't going to get anything out of him, she just closed out of the chat. It was 3 days before my wedding when I got a call from Jiang Yuyan. Since I had already blocked her number, when I saw an unknown number pop up, I didn't think much of it and just answered. But a second later, I regretted it. Xian, you finally answered my call. I've been looking everywhere for you." Hearing Jiang Yuyan's voice, I didn't hesitate for a second and went to hang up. But it was like Jiang Yuyan anticipated my move. She hurriedly blurted out to stop me, "Xian, don't hang up. I know I pissed you off recently. Tell me where you are, and I'll come find you. Okay." She tried her best to make her voice sound gentle, trying to convince me she was really calling to apologize, until another voice came through the phone, sounding like she was pouting a little bit. "Oh, hubby, who's on the phone that you need to talk so long?" The moment she heard the word hubby, Jiang Yuyan felt like she'd been struck by lightning. But what was even more unbelievable to her was that I didn't deny it, and just replied simply, "No one important." For the first time ever, Jiang Yuyan realized that words could actually kill a person. No one important. Just those 3 words. She just felt a ringing explode in her ears. She couldn't hear what else we said after that. She didn't even know. When the call disconnected, she suddenly remembered that not long ago when I left my phone in the living room, she saw that the person calling me was saved under the contact name Wifey. How did she end up completely forgetting about it? Because Song Baishan had interrupted her when she tried to ask. Anger completely clouded her mind, but right now, Jiang Yuyan couldn't do anything about it. She didn't even have to try calling back to know that this number had definitely been blocked by me too. But she hadn't even agreed to break up yet. How could I just go and find someone else? Why is it that in this relationship, it starts when I say I like her, but ends just because I decide to give up? Jiang Yuan's eyes turned cold, and only one thought was left in her mind. She wasn't going to just give up like this. Jiang Yuyan went to find my old college class president and managed to get my home address out of him. Just as she was about to head out, her phone suddenly rang. She pulled out her phone and checked. The name Song Baishan flashed across the screen in large letters. After hesitating for a moment, she finally turned around and headed in Song Baishan's direction first. She figured she'd finish up things over there as quickly as possible, and then just come straight to find me. She wasn't going to let me marry someone else. But what Jiang Yuyan didn't expect was that this delay would cost her 3 days. By the time she had Song Baishan's situation sorted out, she realized that the day of my wedding had already arrived. The timeline was rushed, but I didn't cut any corners because of it. Every single thing needed for the wedding was meticulously prepared. On the day of the wedding, Su Ran and I headed to the hotel early to change and get our makeup done. Greeting the guests was left entirely to Su Ran's parents. The 2 of us joked around for a bit, and it wasn't until the ceremony was about to start that I stepped out of the lounge first. Right then my phone rang. When I saw an unsaved number flashing on the screen, my first thought was Jiang Yuyan, and instinctively I hung up. But not long after hanging up, the number called back again. But, thinking about it, not every unknown call is going to be her. There was really no need for me to avoid every unknown number, like the plague, just because of Jiang Yuyan. So, I answered it anyway. Sure enough, an unfamiliar voice came through. "Hello. Hi. Is this Mr. Ji Xian?" I said, yes, and didn't say anything else, waiting for the other side to explain why they called. Once they confirmed who I was, they got straight to the point. "This is the ER at Nanxing Hospital. The situation is, your girlfriend, Ms. Jiang, got into a car accident due to speeding. Her condition isn't great right now. Can you come down to Nanxing Hospital?" Hearing this, I froze for a second. It took me a long time to process what they just said. Jiang Yuyan came to Nanxing and got into an accident from speeding. "Hello, Mr. Ji, are you still there?" Seeing that I wasn't answering, the nurse prompted me again, snapping me back to reality. When I spoke, I rejected her outright. "I'm sorry. We've already broken up." I'm getting married today. I don't have time to go over there. Please see if you can contact someone else." After saying that, I just hung up. Even though I vaguely guessed why Jiang Yuan came to Nanchang. And it probably had to do with me. We're already broken up. Whatever happens to her is none of my business anymore. There are so many people she could call. She definitely doesn't need me. Hearing the beep of the call ending, the nurse in charge of contacting families looked a bit awkward. Right then, a doctor came over to rush her, asking if she'd reached the family yet. The nurse shook her head and went back to making calls. By the time she reached Jiang Yuan's parents, an hour had already passed. Hearing their daughter got into a car crash, the couple was absolutely devastated. They bought tickets to Nanchang immediately, having contacted the family and getting their consent. The doctor comfortably began prepping for surgery. Meanwhile, the wedding venue was packed with guests. Su Ran, wearing a trailing wedding gown, walked step by step toward me on the stage, even though he always said he hoped his grandson would get married soon. When the day actually came, Grandpa still couldn't hold back his tears. "Grandpa, why are you crying? This is a happy occasion." Even as I said that, looking at Grandpa's red eyes, my own eyes started tearing up too. But I still choked down the lump in my throat and gave him a smile. Plus, our new place isn't even far from home. Even after we're married, won't we still be coming back to keep you company all the time? Grandpa looked at our hands clasped together and said earnestly, "Cheyenne, take good care of Ran from now on. You two need to love each other and stay by each other's side for the rest of your lives." Saying our vows, exchanging rings, the kiss. Amidst the cheers and blessings from all the guests, Su Ran and I officially became husband and wife. Su Ran laughed happily. "Cheyenne, I finally married you." Meanwhile, Song Baixian, following Jiang Yuan's parents, rushed to Nanchang Hospital that very afternoon. Looking at her daughter lying unconscious in the hospital bed, they couldn't hold back their grief anymore. Their daughter was so brilliant. At such a young age, she had already become an associate chief physician. When she woke up, how were they supposed to tell her that she would never be able to stand at an operating table again? No matter how hard the truth is to face, it has to be faced eventually. By the time Jiang Yuan woke up, it had already been a week. When she opened her eyes, her parents and Song Baixian were by her side. The only person missing was the one she wanted to see the most. Yoa. "Mom, Dad, have you seen Xian? Did he come see me?" Hearing her question, her parents weren't too happy about it. They held their tongues, stopping themselves from saying anything to her face. But then, Song Baixian chimed in, full of righteous indignation. "You ended up like this because of him. Why are you still thinking about him? He's been busy getting married and going on his honeymoon these past few days. He's living it up. Why would he remember to come see you? He never wanted to see Jiang Yuan and I get back together anyway. So right now, he was doing everything in his power to drive a wedge between us. He wanted to make her disappointed in me, so of course he wasn't going to cover for me. But he forgot that she had just woken up and couldn't handle any shock." Before her parents could stop him, Jiang Yuan had already seen the post I made. On the day of her accident, she stared blankly at the phone screen, at the red marriage certificate with my name and Su Ran's on it. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her heart was full of denial. How could this be? Xian actually went and married someone else. Could he really just, throw their relationship away so easily? Then what did their 6 years together even mean? She didn't understand, and she didn't want to believe it. She forced herself to sit up, wanting to go find me. But the movement made her completely freeze, looking at the hideous, terrifying scar on her wrist. Her heart sank heavily. She looked at her right hand, which felt unnatural to move, and at her legs, which had felt completely numb when she tried to get up. With trembling hands, she tried to throw off the blanket covering her, but her parents held it down tight, looking at her father, whose eyes were filled with sorrow, as he constantly shook his head to stop her. How could she not understand? She's a doctor! And she hadn't lost consciousness immediately. When the crash happened, she had seen her own injuries. It's just that having just woken up, her memory was trying to shield her from the truth. Her voice choked up. Mom, Dad, my legs and my hands are perfectly fine, right? But they stayed silent, still holding down the blanket, covering her, not letting her lift it. Her mother, being more emotional, already had large tears rolling down her face. As everyone stood there in a tense standoff, Song Baishan finally noticed the mood was awful and quietly hid his phone away. He spoke up to comfort her. It's okay, Yuyan, you'll get better. I'll be with you the whole time. It would have been better if he hadn't spoken. The moment he opened his mouth, all the pent-up anger in Jiang Yuyan's heart was unleashed completely onto him. She shoved Song Baichan, who was leaning in close hard, caught off guard. He was pushed straight backward. The back of his head slammed into a stool nearby, and he fell hard to the floor. But she didn't feel a shred of pity for him anymore. Jiang Yuyan screamed at him. If it wasn't for you, why would Xian have left me? If it wasn't for you, how would I have ended up like this? Get out right now. Her screaming made his heart bleed. His face grew paler, but he stubbornly refused to leave. Her parents, however, hearing what she said, suddenly changed their expressions. What does that mean? Caught slipping up, Jiang Yuyan instantly froze. After a long time, she defeatedly laid back down and recounted everything that had happened recently. After hearing the whole story, and finding out that their daughter, right before her own wedding, had run off to have a baby with another man, her parents' faces went through a spectrum of emotions before they finally shook their heads in utter disappointment. Yuyan, growing up, you never gave us a single thing to worry about. How could you, when it mattered most, do something so completely out of line? Jiang Yuyan didn't answer them. She just covered her face with her hands, and muffled sobs started to escape. She didn't even know why she had done what she did. She just thought that because I loved her, I would absolutely never leave her. Looking at her daughter like this, her mother couldn't help but feel her heart ache for her again. And naturally, she started to blame me. Even if you were in the wrong here, you only ended up like this because you were rushing to see Ji Xian. Isn't he being a bit too heartless? Jiang Yuyan wanted to argue, but the words caught in her throat. She couldn't help but think, Yahoo, I'm already in this state. Is Xian really not even willing to come see me once? Seeing her like this, Song Baishan pulled out a ring, ready to make one last desperate attempt. Yuyan, marry me. I want to marry you and take care of you for the rest of my life. That one sentence shocked everyone in the room. Jiang Yuyan's mind went completely blank, and she blurted out on instinct, I'm never marrying you. Jiang Yuyan lay in the hospital bed with her eyes squeezed shut, turning a deaf ear to her parents' comforting words. Watching her, the couple couldn't help but feel a bit helpless. Why are you so stubborn? Baishan clearly cares about you, and you're in this condition now. Someone has to take care of you. Don't tell me you're still waiting for that Ji Xian to come back. He's already married to someone else. What are you waiting for? It wasn't that she didn't understand what her parents were saying. She just couldn't let it go. In the past, Jiang Yuyan thought that her feelings for me were mostly just habit, but it wasn't until I left her to marry someone else that her bleeding heart finally told her, yes, Jiang Yuyan, you do love Ji Xian. You can't live without him. But just as her father said, I had already gotten my marriage license with someone else. If she kept waiting, it would all be for nothing. She clenched her fists tightly, but that single word of agreement just wouldn't come out. How could she just accept this fate? She was so close to being the one to marry Xian. Why did things have to end up like this? I had no idea what was going through Jiang Yuyan's mind. After finishing a month-long honeymoon, Su Ran and I headed back to Nanchang. It was early September when we got back. All the schools were flooded with students returning for the semester. On the official first day of school, Su Ran stood at the door, pointing a finger at her own cheek. It wasn't until I rolled my eyes and planted a kiss on her cheek that she finally beamed with a huge smile. I ended up playfully shoving her out the door. All right, hurry up and get to school. I honestly wonder if Nanchang University regrets hiring you as a professor. Su Ran raised an eyebrow proudly, making sure to humble brag. Snagging an amazing professor like me. Nanchang, you should consider themselves lucky. I was an outstanding graduate, and an outstanding lecturer. I quickly cut her off. Okay. I know you're amazing. You really need to leave for school now. We don't want our big-shot professor to be late on the first day. Imagine if the students are on time. But the professor is the one showing up late. Pushed out the door, Su Ran wasn't bothered by me rushing her at all. Looking thoroughly satisfied, she turned and headed out. Lately, there was a rumor going around Nanchang U. The notoriously strict, smiling tiger professor got married, and her mood had improved drastically. She was smiling so much every day, her grin practically reached her ears. I only found out later, when I visited her on campus. They got married. She'd been showing off her wedding ring basically every single day. At the time, I was completely oblivious to all this. Just as I was thinking about starting my job hunt again, there was a knock at the door. A little confused, I got up to answer it. The delivery guy confirmed my name and handed me a package. After signing for it, I went back inside. When I opened it, there was nothing inside but a red wedding invitation. I pulled it out and flipped it open. The first thing that caught my eye were the two names at the very top, Yang Yuyan and Song Baichen. So they actually did end up together. I just didn't get why they would mail their wedding invitation to me. Did she want to show off? Or did she want to prove that even if I left, she could still find someone else? But what does that have to do with me? I couldn't care less who she marries now. I tossed the invitation aside, didn't give it a second thought, and went back to whatever I was doing. It wasn't until Su Ran came home that afternoon, saw the invitation sitting on the table, and picked it up to look at it. She casually flipped it open. When she saw the names on it, she raised an eyebrow. Whose invite is this? Your ex-girlfriend sure moves fast. I shrugged, took the invite from her hand, and got ready to toss it in the trash. Just ignore them. They're being ridiculous. She hid the invite behind her back. A mischievous smile crept onto her face as she looked at me, her voice full of amusement. Since they so sincerely invited us, we might as well go check it out. She also wanted to see exactly what Jiang Yuyan was plotting by sending us an invitation right now. The wedding date was set for next month. The timeline was a bit more generous than what Su Ran and I had, but the final execution still fell pretty short. I never expected that I'd be back in Haisheng this soon, and coming back with Su Ran to attend a wedding no less. A lot of the guests knew me, and they also knew our history. So seeing me walk in holding hands with another woman definitely sparked some whispers. One of the guests, Nhi, looking at us, as Su Ran and I casually found a place to sit, couldn't help but sigh. Who would have thought? It's only been 3 or 4 months, and the two people we all thought would definitely get married actually ended up marrying other people. The guy sitting next to me chuckled. Well, You can't say they didn't get married, right? The first guy was speechless for a second. But, thinking about it, he laughed too. When I first heard Ji Xian married someone else, I thought he was the one who moved on. But looking at things now, his heart was probably just broken. Another person joined their conversation, and one sentence instantly piqued the other two's interest. What do you mean? What do you mean? I heard the reason Jiang Yuyan's wedding was thrown together so fast is because she got pregnant with the groom's baby. She's already over 2 months along. Wait, 2 months. If you do the math, that's right around the time Jiang Yuyan and Ji Xian broke up. I have no idea. Didn't Ji Xian post something back then about changing brides? Maybe it was because he found out about this. They weren't talking very loudly. But since we weren't sitting that far away, I didn't hear everything clearly. But I did catch the part about Jiang Yuyan being pregnant. I scoffed. No wonder she had the nerve to send me an invite. It was because she was pregnant. Just over 2 months. Thinking back, it was right around the time they said they were doing IVF. She even lied to me, saying her mentor passed away, so they didn't go through with the IVF. Su Ran squeezed my hand. I turned to her and saw the worried and somewhat defensive look on her face. I smiled and shook my head, signaling her not to worry. I leaned down and kissed her cheek. Her eyes shot wide open, and she whipped her head around to look at me. But I had already turned my head away, pretending to look elsewhere. Only the bright red tips of my ears gave away. That wasn't as calm on the inside as I looked. Not far away, Jiang Yuyan took in the whole scene. Her heart was a mess of mixed emotions, looking at how we interact with each other now. She couldn't even comfort herself by thinking I just picked someone else out of spite. It looked like I had genuinely fallen for someone else. I had embraced this woman's presence in my life, and was even willing to take the initiative to get closer to her. Unlike when we were dating, where she would just stand still and wait for me to come to her. This was a mutual effort. I had truly walked toward a future without her, while she was drowning in a past that still had me. Song Baichen hurried over, following her gaze. He instantly spotted Su Ran and me. Our heads were bowed close, whispering to each other. The air around us felt like it was practically bubbling with pink hearts. It was the complete opposite of the cold, distant vibe between him and Yang Yuyan. Song Baichen tried his hardest to swallow his jealousy and resentment, and forced a smile onto his face. Yuyan, it's almost time to go on stage. Let's get you ready. Saying that, he reached out to push her wheelchair, but her eyes refused to leave me. For a long time, Jiang Yuyan didn't know if this would be the last time she ever saw me. She only knew that after today's wedding, there would never be a chance for us again. She hung her head, looking down at her empty pant leg and the hideous scar on her right hand. A wave of sorrow crashed over her heart. She missed me, but she didn't even have the courage to stop Song Baichen from pushing her away and just go talk to me. She was completely broken now. Even if this wedding wasn't happening, even if I hadn't married someone else, I probably wouldn't want someone as broken as her anyway. I felt someone staring at me, and when I looked up, I saw Song Baichen pushing Jiang Yuyan away in a wheelchair. I was stunned. I never expected her to end up in a wheelchair. Was it because of that car accident? Was she really hurt that badly? My guess was confirmed when the bride took the stage. Ever since Jiang Yuyan's accident, I hadn't really heard any news about her. I never thought that seeing her again, the phrase "things change, people change," would hit so incredibly hard. I couldn't tell if she had any other injuries. But even with zero medical knowledge, I knew that in her condition, she was probably never going to be a doctor again. For a second, I actually felt a pang of sympathy. It had only been 3 months, and her life had completely flipped upside down. On stage, Jiang Yuyan looked miserable. There was zero joy of getting married on her face. Honestly, she looked more like someone owed her millions and hadn't paid her back. When Song Baishan's mom first found out Jiang Yuyan was pregnant, she was equally shocked. But her immediate reaction was to want her to get rid of the baby. Even though Jiang Yuyan and I had already split up by then, Song Baishan's mom could still tell that Jiang Yuyan wasn't over me. Under these circumstances, Song Baishan, trying to use a baby to trap Jiang Yuyan, was just asking for trouble. Plus, she was in this condition now. Song Baishan's mom was really worried that Jiang Yuyan might have an ulterior motive. But what surprised her the most was that Jiang Yuyan actually agreed to the wedding, remembering she was currently at the wedding venue. Song Baishan's mom quickly fixed her expression to look a bit more natural. She watched Jiang Yuyan's father push her to Song Baishan. Jiang Yuyan's face was completely emotionless, just as Song Baishan's mom's expression was turning downright ugly. Song Baishan smoothly smoothed things over, pushing Jiang Yuyan's wheelchair. So they stood together before the priest. Because of Jiang Yuyan's condition, they cut out a lot of the ceremony, but they couldn't skip the ring exchange. The flower girl brought the rings over. Jiang Yuyan took the ring. But just as she was about to put it on Song Baishan, she stopped and just stared blankly at the diamond ring. That was the ring she and I had picked out together for our wedding. The wedding was finally happening. But her groom wasn't me anymore. Song Baishan stood there, hand outstretched. The smile on his face was practically frozen in place, only to hear her softly call out a name. Cheyenne, will you marry me? His smile completely shattered. But with so many eyes watching him, he could only force a grimace that looked worse than crying, and whispered a reminder, Yuyan, it's time to exchange rings. Jiang Yuyan finally snapped out of it and slid the incorrectly sized ring onto his ring finger. From below the stage, I watched her zone out, feeling like I understood Jiang Yuyan less and less. Maybe it really is true that you only want what you can't have, and those who are favored have nothing to fear. When I still loved Jiang Yuyan, I could tell from her reactions that in any situation, I would always be the first one she gave up on. Later, when I was completely over her, marrying Su Ran was partly out of spite, and partly just to give my grandpa peace of mind. I thought we'd just be a couple who treated each other with polite respect. I didn't hold on to any grand expectations. But Su Ran gave me an overwhelming amount of love. My fortune came true. So what about Jiang Yuyan's losing her true love forever? Looking at how she's acting now, it seems hers came true too. But I don't think she actually loved me. I was more like a habit to her. She was used to me chasing after her, giving her whatever she wanted, expecting nothing in return, and never complaining. So, now that I'm gone, and she says she loves me, who's going to believe that? I didn't stick around for the whole wedding. Halfway through, Su Ran felt nauseous. So we left early. She just thought the venue was too crowded. I thought she was just feeling stuffy and a walk would help. But once we got outside, she threw up even worse. Even though she said she was fine, I was still worried. So I took her to the hospital. We went from the ER to the OB-GYN department. And when they asked again, when her last period was, Su Ran and I finally realized she was already 2 weeks late. The doctor took a look and asked if she had ever been this late before. Su Ran shook her head. Even though her cycle wasn't always super regular, it had never been delayed, thighs long, just to be safe. Su Ran went ahead and did a checkup. When we got the test results saying she was 4 weeks pregnant, it felt so surreal. I asked her, "Are you really pregnant?" Su Ran got on her tiptoes, cupped my face, and planted a huge kiss on my lips. Smiling from ear to ear, she said, "Hubby, you're going to be a dad?" Her sudden kiss caught me totally off guard. After that, neither of us was in the mood to stay in Haisheng anymore. We bought plane tickets and flew straight back to Nanchen. Su Ran went upstairs and told her parents the good news. Meanwhile, I headed back to my own place first, getting ready to tell Grandpa the great news. As soon as I walked in, the apartment was dead silent. I called out excitedly, but got no answer. My heart skipped a beat. I quickly pushed open the bedroom door and saw Grandpa collapsed on the floor. No matter how much I yelled his name, he didn't respond. With trembling hands, I pulled out my phone and immediately called for an ambulance. Then, I called Su Ran. Grandpa passed out. My voice was shaking as I choked out those few words. The shocked Su family hurried downstairs. When the ambulance arrived, we all rushed to the hospital together, waiting outside the emergency room. Su Ran held me close, softly comforting me. "Grandpa is going to be okay. You need to stay calm. Otherwise, Grandpa will just worry about you when he wakes up." Her parents also felt pretty guilty. Since Grandpa is usually home alone, they would normally check in on him from time to time. Who would have thought that just one day of not checking in something like this would happen? It wasn't until the red light above the OR turned green, and the doctor walked out. Used to seeing families having breakdowns outside the OR, the doctor was completely unfazed. "Good thing you brought him in time. The resuscitation was a success. But the old man's body is weak. He'll need to stay in the hospital for observation for a while." Hearing those words, my nerves finally calmed down a bit. Su's parents went to pay the medical bills, while Su Ran stayed with me and went straight to the ward. Grandpa G finally woke up on the third day. He looked at my guilt-ridden face and sighed. "Grandpa's old and useless now. I just took a little tumble and caused such a huge scene." I held his wrinkled hand, shaking my head relentlessly. "Grandpa, you're not old. You're going to live a long, long time to help raise your great-grandkids." Hearing the word great-grandkids, Grandpa finally perked up a little. "I'm going to be a great-grandpa. Then, I really need to work hard and live a little longer. Just like Xian said, I need to watch my great-grandkids grow up." When Su Ran was 7 months pregnant, my friend in Haisheng brought me the latest gossip. Jiang Yuyan had a miscarriage. A late-term miscarriage. They couldn't save the baby. She never even liked Song Baishan to begin with. She only agreed to the wedding because she was pregnant. But because of this, a sudden glimmer of hope flared up in her heart. Now that the baby was gone, and she hadn't had a kid with another man, didn't that mean she could still beg for my forgiveness? But her top priority was divorcing Song Baishan first. But the more anxious she was, the more the situation spiraled in the exact opposite direction of what she wanted. Song Baishan refused to divorce her, which meant Jiang Yuyan couldn't even file for it easily, especially since her mobility was so limited. And Song Baishan treated her so well, so all she could do was wait. 6 months felt like an eternity. She waited and waited until she finally got the news that Su Ran had given birth to my baby girl. That very day, she completely lost it. She bought the earliest flight and rushed to Nanchen. By the time Jiang Yuyan arrived at the Nanchen hospital, it was already 8 p.m. When she showed up in front of me, looking totally worn out from the trip, I almost didn't recognize her. It wasn't until her raspy voice called out my name that I finally connected this haggard-looking woman standing before me with the once famous Dr. Jiang of Haisheng First Hospital. I looked behind her and saw she was alone. Feeling a bit curious, I looked at her. You came here all by yourself. Jiang Yuyan nodded. Ever since her amputation, she rarely left the house. But this time just to see me, she had sneaked out. It was her first time going out alone since her disability, and traveling far away at that. She had run into a ton of trouble along the way, but all of her exhaustion vanished into thin air the second she saw me. Even though her heart was pounding with anxiety, her eyes couldn't help but shine with a glimmer of hope. She looked at me, and finally blurted out the plea for reconciliation she had been suppressing for so long. Xiao, I didn't have a baby with Song Baishan. Can you still forgive me? Right as she said that, her wheelchair suddenly was jerked backwards by a strong force, sliding back uncontrollably. A thoroughly annoyed Su Ran walked right past her and sat down next to me. Ms. Jiang, in what capacity are you saying this? As the ex-girlfriend who completely failed Xiang, as Song Baishan's current wife, or just as a shameless person trying to use your disability to score pity points? Hearing her say that, Jiang Yuyan was momentarily at a loss for words. But Su Ran wasn't about to let her off the hook just because she was quiet and trying to steal my husband right in front of me. Did you forget that Xian is already married to me? What exactly are you trying to do running over here in the middle of the night, trying to be a homewrecker? I honestly had no idea that Haisheng First Hospital's most famous Dr. Jiang was actually someone with such low morals. Oh wait, right, for someone who would do IVF and have a baby with another man right before their own wedding. Pulling a stunt like this isn't really that surprising, is it? Being called out like that made her face turn red, then white. Finally, seeing Su Ran's words getting harsher by the second, she couldn't take it anymore. Looking humiliated, she interrupted her. This is between me and Xiao. It's none of your business. Hearing this, Su Ran let out a soft scoff. Just as she was about to open her mouth to fire back at her again, I spoke up first. You're being ridiculous. Ran is my wife. You're harassing her husband. How is it not her business? That one sentence elicited two completely different reactions. Su Ran was instantly appeased. She sat obediently next to me, savoring the fact that I just called her wife. It's not easy getting me to call her that, let alone defending her publicly in front of a rival. Jiang Yuyan, on the other hand, reacted the exact opposite. All of Su Ran's insults combined didn't hurt nearly as much as my one sentence taking her side. Jiang Yuyan's face instantly drained of color. Her eyes were full of disbelief. You're defending her. You actually. Her voice was cut off by the sound of a baby crying. Only then did she suddenly remember why she came here. In the first place, because she heard the news. Su Ran had just given birth to my daughter. It finally dawned on her just how incredibly stupid her actions were, and how ridiculous she sounded, watching the woman who was just glaring at her instantly turn around the second the baby cried, lean over to pick up the daughter beside her, and gently coax her back to sleep. Once my daughter was sound asleep again, I gently laid her back down, then turned around and bluntly told Jiang Yuyan to leave. You're not welcome here. Jiang Yuyan, you need to go. Jiang Yuyan left the hospital looking completely soulless. From behind she looked so frail and pathetic, and standing right in front of her was a pale but stubbornly waiting Song Baishan. Seeing her come out, he gave her a smile. Yuyan, I'm here to take you home. Back in the hospital room, Su Ran was staring unblinkingly at our daughter's peaceful sleeping face, feeling incredibly content. I poked her shoulder when she looked up at me, confused. I asked softly, have you picked out a name for our daughter yet? She shook her head. No, My parents and I both want Grandpa to pick her official name. How about we pick her nickname ourselves? I thought about it and nodded. I asked what her nickname should be. Sue Ran shook her head again. My parents didn't like any of the names I picked. They said you should do it. Hearing her say that, I was actually a bit curious about what names she had come up with, but what she said next made me completely agree with her parents. Piggy, Sparkle, Shiny. I blatantly ignored the hopeful look in her eyes asking for my approval. It was either an animal or something glowing. If we actually called her that, our daughter would probably be self-conscious about it for years. I made the final call. Let's just call her an Anne. Honestly, I'm not great at picking names either, but at least you can't go wrong with an Anne. The next day, the nickname Anne was officially locked in. Grandpa had been recovering well lately, and when he heard he got the naming rights for his great-granddaughter, he was absolutely over the moon. He stayed up all night flipping through books to find the perfect name. Ji Jingxing, beautiful as jade, crafted by heaven, ambitious and full of grand aspirations. I really loved the name. No one brought up what happened the night before. After all, there's no need to dwell on the past. You always have to look forward.